But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation. And now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear. They can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on national security, including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
He always makes that smug face when he knows he's like they're talking real about him.
Weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues
Keystone
to get
Pipeline was in
Right back
America.
with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate for the National
It's in a whole
Constitution
different country. It ain't got nothing to do with us.
Baltic Sea.
Gentlemen, we are here live in direct
presidential debate will
inside the
continue
studio.
after this.
This has been interesting, man. It's been a lot.
This
being said.
PBS News presentation is made possible by
the biggest thing with Trump is that you're going to get a lot of distractions. You're going to get a lot of lies. He lies so much that it's like you can't even.
Somebody's pocket.
It doesn't matter if you're telling the truth or not because you got to defend against lies the entire time. It's like that's his strategy. That's kind of our thing. Set you up with so many things that are not true. I think it's one of the biggest things he
and by the Corporation for Public
successful
Broadcasting,
is speaking
and by
about
contributions to your PBS
immigration.
station from viewers like
I mean,
you.
that's a tough subject. How you get around that?
Well, I mean, like, look, I mean, if you think about it, like when he was in charge, he was separating the moms, the parents, and the kids. And there's a whole bunch of kids that disappeared. She could easy. And then when he brought up the whole, he's like, well, you let them have a pipeline in the Baltic Sea, and that's not in America. Keystone Pipeline was supposed to be in America.
Will
I think just the biggest thing that he does have, they have
We are not going back.
And that's just something that we have to do. And they have to like come to grips with. We have a bad reputation on that.
Conversation
we
with
let in more
America,
people than
September
Obama
23rd at 9, 8 Central.
The president before you let in less people than you. No, I mean,
Good
That's a
evening.
tough-
I'm Amna Nawaz.
And I'm
it's a
Jeff
really
Bennett
tough
on the News Hour tonight.
The
conversation
PBS
for him to
News
have,
Hour,
especially
your
with Kamala
source
Harris.
for
It's really
news
hard
you
for her
can
to have that
trust,
kind of conversation.
asking tough
She's
questions.
sitting
Democrats
she's not
supply
sitting in
their
the White
votes
House.
if it
Of
means
course,
the
she's
voting
not
of government
president, but
shutdown.
Well, right
it's under
now
you guys'
it's very
watch.
much
You
in
want
the
to pause the
hands of
audio
the
while we talk?
Republicans in Congress to be able to do just that.
Russia right now has you outmanned, outgunned. Is it time to think of
Don't worry, folks. That's the thing. Anyway, there we go. We're back. Yeah, man. So we're here for the presidential debate 2024 on September 10th, right before September 11th. You know what I'm saying? My name is D-Mac.
My name is Wesley, and this is Uncommon Courtesy. You know, and these debates right here, this is gonna make or break the presidency right here. This is really what, unless something huge happens between now and November 5th. This is the deciding factor on what's going to happen.
They don't have another debate after this? I thought they had one more.
Not anything assigned. He asked for 2 other debates, one on Fox News, which I wouldn't go on Fox
He
News.
wanted it in a boxing ring, in a stadium full of people. That would have been glorious.
And so, I mean, and then he wanted another one, I think, on I think he might have asked for it might have been NBC or something like that. He might have went with that one.
I know NBC and Disney and Dish were kind of beefing over the debate right now.
Why?
It was something about, the rights to it, but I guess everybody has the rights to it right now. So it was something weird. I didn't get to read the article that much. There was a whole bunch of stuff I was supposed to send you today too.
I mean, yeah, ABC, I mean, at the end of the day, they got the debate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think ABC, that's Disney. So
yeah, okay, so they got it, yeah.
I mean, what do you think? So at the
Disney owns a lot of real estate on TV, media.
Yeah, I mean, they've been around for a long time. They've had the upper hand. Really, when you look at things, they've had the upper hand in keeping this and being able to move their entertainment business. So, but right now, I had a friend of mine reach out to me and tell me, he was like, he said he felt like Trump won already. You know what I mean? He was like, yeah, Trump already won. It was like 14 minutes into the debate.
That's like what, an album drops for a rapper and somebody's like 10 seconds in, like, oh, album of the year. This is hot.
Man, but that's how he felt though. But he might have got something off good. I didn't hear it. I didn't see it. No, I feel like I don't feel like she's fully explaining everything that they've done well. And I feel like he's keeping a really good distraction. If I was her, I would have hit him with, he came out with the states are deciding. Well, you got Arkansas, and I can't remember. I think it might have been, it's either Mississippi or somewhere like it's Arkansas or Mississippi, some other state right now that's not even allowing people to vote. What they did down in Arkansas by stopping everybody from even being able to vote. Hold on, wait. Is this what I don't think this is the debate. Is it? It's not.
It's not.
I'm not sure.
I thought it was just commercials. Go back. Find it again. Oh, that's us.
But yeah, like I said, I mean, it was a very, very interesting kind of approach that he took, because if you look at it, the states that that are stopping it from going, I think it's Arkansas, and I believe, like I said, it's Mississippi. And those 2 states, they've actually gotten the votes to put it on the ballot, but they come back and say, you know what, we're not going to allow it on the ballot in November. They understand that in November, that's a bad issue to have on a ballot in November.
Yeah.
I mean, women's rights, because everywhere you've had it.
Debate tonight. We're going to continue here, and I
We're
want to
back.
turn to the war in Ukraine. We're now
It's
2.5
fair.
years into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break today. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question.
Yeah, through the mic?
Do you want Ukraine to
save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions? It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting with your fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more.
He was one of those kids.
Because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's. Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just
they threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time is up. Just to clarify the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president, you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me.
Okay.
I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump
that's the spark right there.
Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine.
Absolutely.
Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from.
She's right, though. I mean, he did take the money from Egypt for favors.
And he's been wagging the dog with Donald Trump this entire time.
Please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something.
You said but America who doesn't. I think some cases you have to be stronger against them, but
clarified tonight.
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fella. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief. And the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Said Trump did
they keep on letting him do this.
Thing I've ever seen.
Keep letting him do
these
this.
Countries,
let him talk over.
Countries at the time,
it's not his turn to talk.
Pay up. He said, "I've never seen."
They should make his time frame start now.
I've never seen. Almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before. If you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. Otherwise, we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate.
You're going to talk all over again.
A poignant moment.
Doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying?
Soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the
The
Taliban.
Taliban.
The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David.
On 9/11.
A place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not again appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, you know, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, it was we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind.
Why didn't you do it?
We wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, 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 and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move
and
on.
These people did the worst withdrawal and, in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine. Because
he said, if I would have done it, but you had the chance to do it, and you didn't do it.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics.
She needs to address
Mr.
that.
President, you recently
Like you're letting him, he would address
I
that.
didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here
He's
today.
already mad.
Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words. So I'm
I
asking.
don't know. I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and
that she put out,
and then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
He said, I read where she was black, and she puts out.
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first Black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do. I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your third time.
This is the most divisive
God,
presidency
they got to quit letting him do that.
in the history of
It's
our
crazy.
country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park Five, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled.
She got to counteract it though, like, bro.
This is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up. Lindsay?
I want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country, one who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction, to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first
I
year
told
of
you,
their
like, you got to
child's
stoop to his level and
to
just
help
get on
you
him with some nasty
in that most
stuff.
critical stage of your child's development.
I see what she's
have a
doing though.
plan
She's
that is about allowing people to be able
he's
to
more
pursue
divisive,
what
and he
has
is who
been
he is.
fleeting in
She's
terms of
she's
the
like, look,
American
I'm trying to be
dream
the president
by
for
offering
everybody.
a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name-calling. Let's turn the page
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's
Trump,
turn back
we
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy,
She has
please.
a plan to defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
She
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move
to
on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania.
Cut off
or
his
anywhere
mic.
else.
Okay.
That's
Mr.
what her
President.
plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond
President
because
Trump,
no, the
President
former
Trump,
president has said
no, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry.
I
We're
just
gonna
need to
move
respond
on, Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this
multiple
is
times.
now your
Yes.
third time running for president. You have
Damn, for
long
real?
vowed to repeal and
Call her
replace
punk you like
the
that?
Affordable Care Act,
She
also
lets
known
her
as
do it to her, but he
Obamacare.
don't
You
let her do
failed
it
to
until they talk
accomplish
over and
that.
they get
You now say
this
you're
is
going
done.
to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I
Actually, pretty
said,
great health
we
care.
come up with something, and we are working on
Cost
things.
effective as
We're
it
going
should
to do
be.
it, and we're going to
Had
replace
more
it. But
Republicans
remember
who
this,
came online with it.
I
when they
inherited
Yeah,
Obamacare
well, they gutted it.
because
So it came
Democrats
out.
wouldn't change it. They
You know what I
wouldn't
mean?
vote
It's better
for
than
it.
what we
They
had.
were
It's a better
unanimous. They
direction.
wouldn't
Headed in a
vote
better
to change
direction.
it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be?
He never came up with a plan, though.
Or
It was
do
said that they were going to
let
make
it
one. They
rot?
never even.
And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing, but it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan.
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive.
I have
And there are
concepts of a plan.
concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff.
Good.
As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time. When I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, "No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan." And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people. Understand
remember he had the smirk before,
value
right?
I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it, pass this prologue in terms of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a lot of...
She made a mistake. At number one,
You don't shut her down.
John McCain fought
Shut her down, though.
Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him.
They're
It
afraid
was
to do it
all
to
of
him.
the
I don't know what these
Democrats
teams.
that kept it going.
Bias.
And you know what?
You need to tell them to shut up. Respect
They
the
can do
rules.
much better than Obamacare. Much
If
less
you
money.
do it to her, you got to do it to
She
him.
won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get.
President
People
Trump-
are paying privately for insurance
Again.
that have worked hard and made money, and they want
Hold
to have
the
private.
debate.
She wants everybody to be on government
strong against
insurance
her.
where you wait
You walked on her.
6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said the climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine.
Conspiracy
they get all
theories.
this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate
speak too much.
from Philadelphia.
You got to let him dig his own grave. They're going to fact check it. That's what everyone's doing.
I mean, not really. People don't fact check too much of anything, man. They just listen to what he says.
The whole debate is going to be fact checked with a fine tooth comb. Now, if you're watching Fox News, you know they're not going to. They might do it. I mean, they've been checking them recently because it's a big election coming. This is a big election. This is going to shift the country depending on which way it goes.
Absolutely, it's not just the country, but the world. I mean, as we know, I know it sounds like it's hyperbole. I'm speaking like on higher than where it really is going, but you have things like Ukraine going on right now. I mean, that's a big situation going on right now. I mean, Russia's lost 300 to 500,000 troops over in Ukraine. I mean, this is putting them in a situation where they can't. He's talking about nukes and all that. There's no going to. Russia's not going to want to go to war with another country if he keeps on taking losses like this. He won't have the troops to do it. You know what I mean? Period. They're having to conscript a bunch of people just to even.
Yeah, but I'm saying also, if I was Donald Trump, I call the other opposition weak too. I try to throw over the whole government, and y'all still ain't doing nothing about it.
Still ain't doing nothing about it. Period. I mean, and they treat. I mean, the way he gets away with what he gets away with so much that it just doesn't even really matter. It shows sort of
I'm surprised they didn't talk about like today. He posted on Truth Social. He said, if Republicans in the House and the Senate don't get absolute assurance on election security, they should in no way, shape, or form go forward with a continuous resolution on the budget. The Democrats are trying to stuff voter registration with illegal aliens. Don't let it happen. Close it down. So he's screaming for the government to shut down. Like, bro, so you didn't want to do the border deal.
You know, this wouldn't be the first time he shut the government down. He shut the government down before.
Yeah.
Under his presidency. It's happened before. You know, I mean, it was for like about maybe a month almost in January.
And the military families weren't getting paid.
Yeah, he's done this before. It's his way of negotiating. He doesn't care so much about the people. And he's like, I mean, at the end of the day, we've had.
Well, some people count on the suffering of others for you to bend to their will.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at our elections, man, He won in 2016. Nobody complained. Nobody. You know,
yeah, they did.
Like, what I'm saying is that they're not saying that the
2 years of
voters
investigations into the Russian hoax.
I mean, but you look at Russia right now. They just gave $10 million to a firm in Tennessee that paid right-wing podcasters to spew lies, to spread falsehoods.
Yeah,
this is happening. It's real. You know what I mean? Whether we want to look at it or not, they had to basically. Facebook even came out and said, you know what? We had a bunch of bots coming in here spreading disinformation. This is true.
Oh yeah, I see it all the time on Twitter. You'll see somebody, they'll post to say, you'll read a post and it'll be something like, oh, I can't believe this is happening. We need to take out Ukraine or something like that. And then you go down and like 5 people have the same post.
I mean, you really look at it. I mean, these countries don't even allow certain social media apps in their country at all. You know what I mean? They don't have Twitter in these other countries. They don't have YouTube in these other countries. I mean, not like as far as China, they have YouTube in China at all. You know, because they're not allowing any information other than what they want. If they understand, freedom comes with a price.
TikTok is nothing but educational in China.
Freedom comes with a price. You know what I mean? It comes with a price. I mean, so does capitalism. It comes with a price.
Easily manipulated here in this country.
I mean, everyone is. It's just that these people don't allow it in theirs. They have an authoritarian, more of an authoritarian government. We have one too here to a degree, to a small degree, very small degree. There are things they do that kind of prevent us like from fully being free like we should be here. But these other countries are all the way. This is what it is. That's why Telegram is so big in other countries. It's not because, you know, it's such a great app. You know, it's a lot more, you know, you can do more on that app, but it's not because it's such a great app. It's more because they won't allow these other things there. He's a Russian-born man. This is why they have him over in this country doing what he's doing. And so, I don't know. Just to me personally, this is a good debate. I feel like both of them are kind of landing punches, and I feel like Trump's landing what he normally lands, which is his. I mean, he has some facts that he's spitting. I mean, he's spitting facts about immigration. That's a big W for them.
Yeah,
I would stick to immigration too if I were him. That's a W for me. I would stick to inflation. It's a W for me.
D.L. Hughley said, what the fuck is the concept of a plan?
I mean, you got to look at the same thing he was saying pretty much when he's talking about when they brought up childcare to him. They're like, hey, what about childcare? What's your plan for childcare? And he just went off the rails about something else. Childcare is important. And he went off the rails. He doesn't have one. Anything that has to do with the people. This is why when I look at things from a different perspective, as far as a progressive perspective, because these people, they don't have plans for the average, you know what I mean, American. They just don't.
David Muir and Lindsay Davis.
And we're back.
Welcome back tonight. The time has come for closing statements. And Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight 2 very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future.
Of course, you had to go first.
And the other that is focused on the past and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President
Good
Trump.
speech. Here we go.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil fuel, we're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry.
That's all we got.
I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution
He didn't say anything about what he was going to do.
Nothing at all, bro. He didn't say nothing. He just did fear and mongering. He's like, our country's shit. Everyone's making fun of us. Immigrants. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like when I hear someone speak and they want to be president, like, at least she gave me hope that, like, she cares about everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just fear and aren't y'all? I'm tired of fear and mongering.
It's crazy, man. Like, honestly, when you sit back and you and you really listen to what he has going on and what they have going on over there. I mean, he dude don't have. I don't feel like he doesn't have a plan. And the reason why you're talking the way that you're talking is because you don't have a plan.
Yeah.
You don't have anything new. Tax breaks. I'm gonna fix what? What are you gonna fix? You're gonna fix Ukraine?
It's like we're going back to fossil fuels. I'm like, fossil fuels is not sustainable. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're gonna end up paying $10 a gallon for gas after
eventually. I mean, we don't have enough to even sustain ourselves like that. We just don't. Yeah. We couldn't even pump enough to sustain. I mean, drill enough to.
It's gonna run out. That's the whole thing. And so you have to look ahead of that, like, get ahead of it. But the whole thing for me, it's just like, at least she sounded presidential. You know what I'm saying? She was like, look, I want to work for everyone. And he was just like, fear mongering.
First, this, that, and the third. I mean, some people take to that though. You know what I mean? Some people, that's what they look for. That's what they want. They want that kind of a situation. They want people like them to lead them. Yeah. This is what they want. And so, we're in for a pretty big presidential,
Oh, it's going to be a wild one. Everybody needs to prep your home to make sure you got enough supplies in there for 3 weeks.
You think so?
Oh, always. I mean, you should anyways. That's actually the best advice I can give to anybody. Check it out.
That.
You need to have enough supplies in your home to last you and your family at least 2 weeks minimum, just in case a natural disaster happens.
I mean, they got something going on right now in Louisiana. I have a friend of mine down in Louisiana telling me about basically they're about to have a hurricane. I don't know if it's a category 1 or 2, but they're expecting their lights pretty much to be out for about a week. Everything's closed down until Friday.
Yeah.
This is just normal. This is regular. But what you're saying, the reason is because you think that if he loses, it's not going to end well.
Well, there's already hints of it. They say 1 in 7 voters think they just did a poll. Like 1 in 7 people think that he should try to take power if he loses, regardless.
1 in 7. Man.
Think about it.
That's pretty much who people were voting for him.
I was saying this all year.
That's
nobody's catching the drift.
That's not a lot.
Think about it. If he loses this election, he's going to jail for the rest of his life. I ain't got nothing to lose. I'm on borrowed time right now. If I win, I'm free. If I lose, I'll help burn the country down. So if I go down, I'm taking everyone with me. That's the attitude you get from this man.
I almost don't feel like he has the same goodwill as he had last time when they actually came in and, they actually attacked the Capitol. People aren't going to fall for that again. 1,400 of them got convicted.
Yo, when he attacked the Capitol, he was cool with it. He was cool with it. But now
I'm not saying
think about it. Then the court cases started piling up. Think about it. He should be in jail for them felonies right now. He's on the 18th, but they pushed it back till after the election. If he loses, we all lose anyways. Because he's like, nope, they stole the election from us. They're going to steal America. Look at all he gave you was fear mongering. It's just going to get more extreme the more he thinks he's losing. Because he's going to jail for the rest. If I'm rich and white and I have money and I've been able to do whatever I want to do, I'm saying, do whatever I want to do my whole life. And now someone's holding me accountable for what I've been doing my whole life. And now I might have to go spend the rest of my life in jail. And I got followers. Nah, bro, we burning this bitch down.
I'm excited because I don't really feel like, I thought he had the best opportunity to do that the first time around. This time around, I'm sure he's going to come out and say that
he didn't think he could win.
Everything else. I'm talking about not the first time around, but January 6th.
No, they weren't ready for it because if Mike Pence would have not certified the election, they had everything in place. Remember, even after they certified the election, they had the one lady down there. She was in one building. I always bring this up. I got to remember her name, but she wasn't even. All she had to do was file the paperwork, and she refused to do it.
He doesn't have the Mike Pence power right now.
You don't need the Mike Pence. There was one lady that stopped it too, and she was just some minor person in the office somewhere in a government building, bro. All she had to do was file the paperwork, and she refused to do it for like 2 weeks. And it held it up. I'll Google that stuff and I'll show it to everybody.
Yeah, I'm not saying, but I'm just like, at the end of the day, once Mike Pence certified the vote, it was a done deal. There was nothing else that was going to happen because of that. There was nobody else who they're going to say you're going to be to stop the next president from taking office. It's not going to happen. I just don't feel like he has. I know he has troopers. I know he has people. I agree with that. But I don't think they're going to show up again in droves like they did the first time. I don't feel like they have. He doesn't have. First of all, you kind of left them for dead. You got 1,400. You got a dude serving 25 years, another dude serving 20. Right now, unless he wins, that's the only way they're getting out.
Yeah,
they're in the feds, so you got to do all your time. The feds is different. You got to do 90% of your time in the feds.
Yeah,
pretty much. I might be 95 or something like that now. That's everything. That's every day, day for day. You in there. You know what I mean? Good time. You doing anything wrong? All your good times going now. You cooked. I don't think he has that same because if people attack a federal building, they're getting charged federally. Period. If he loses this again, everyone's getting charged. I guarantee you they're going to cook him for real this time.
I'm saying, like, if I'm looking at 30, he's looking at 18 years right now. All right, off 34 felonies.
He's not even going to get that. It's crazy because
how long did Bernie Madoff get?
It's a different situation.
Nope, same kind of crime.
Bernie stole
fraud.
No.
Fraud.
I mean, Bernie stole money from people who you ain't supposed to steal money from, who got power and gonna make sure they cook him the way he's supposed to get cooked.
It's the same kind of white collar crime. You still gonna get time for it. You still got 34 felonies. They can't slap you on the wrist because that's like the standard.
Bernie stole like $60-something million or something like that. Billion. I'm sorry about that. $60-something billion.
The government don't care.
Yeah,
that's just about how much you got to pay in restitution. Anything over $50 is a felony.
It's like they do care. Trust me. I mean, it's a difference between stealing 50,000 and 50 billion. It's a difference. You know what I mean? And they're definitely going to take that into account. I'm not saying Trump doesn't. I don't feel like he's even in that ballpark. They're not even. His 34 felonies were they just tacked on a bunch of stuff. And he got found guilty of all of them.
Well, maybe he'll be found guilty of a concept of a crime.
That might work out better, huh? Might work out a little bit better. You know what I mean? But I just, like I say, I don't see him doing anything. If they lose this election, they're going to call fraud. They're going to call this. But to me, it just doesn't have that same gravitas. He doesn't have that same feel for me. Maybe other people have that situation. Maybe they feel that way. You know, I'm talking about just he's supposed to win. Only way they can win is if they cheat type of thing. I've heard it a lot, actually. But, you know, you don't hear it as much now. But I just feel like at the end of the day, man, I feel like, who do you think won the debate? Let's start there.
Who do I think? I only got to see half of it. But I mean, like, I know I didn't.
No, you didn't do a horrible job. I don't know why.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, to me, who looked the best? I mean, with Trump, I didn't hear any policy. He may have said it in the first half, which I missed. I got to work, but I didn't hear any policy. It was just fear mongering and lying.
You pretty much heard what he was saying the entire time that I heard.
Kamala looked more presidential. I'll say that.
To me, she gave more policy.
That's how I feel about America. Bring us together. She's like, stop dividing us. And, you know, For him, it's like he's just going to roll his followers because he can't take the scrutiny of the other people talking bad about him. He hears them talking bad, and he's like, well, I want to punish you for insulting me and talking bad about me. He's like, so if you don't follow me, then you ain't shit to me. You know what I'm saying? At least with her, she was just like, look, I want to bring everybody together. I want to make this country work for the American people. That's what I want to hear. Make it work for me. You may fuck me over later on, like you're usually going to do. You know how the government does. But at least lie to me and make me feel like you care.
Do you think that people are going to
it changed nothing.
Right now, yeah, it may not.
Changed nothing.
Because I don't think they're looking to change the people who they already got. She has to secure her people. He already has his people secure.
I want to live in a part of America where none of this shit bothers me. Where I can say, I don't know who I want to vote for, Donald Trump or Kamala Harris.
I want to living in a certain part of America. It's about being a certain type of person in America.
Yeah, that's what I want. That's the standing I want. Because nobody right now doesn't know who they're not voting for. Everyone right now knows exactly who they're voting for. This changes nothing. If anyone has a time in their life where they get to choose, have to watch a debate to see who they're voting for, I want that life. Because it's not anything, no matter what you vote for, it's not going to affect you. It's like being 9 and not knowing what's going on.
I think there are definitely a group of people who will go either way. Can go either way. Whoever
that must be nice.
That
must be nice.
It doesn't count for us as a people. It doesn't work for us that way.
Must be nice.
You know, and we have to it's almost like the reason why we vote lockstep the way that we do, in my opinion, is because of the policies. The policies work better. You know, if you look at it, they said since I believe it was 1989 or 1987 or something like that, there's been 51 million jobs created. 50 million of them were created by Democrats. Factual. Something that Bill Clinton said. It's a fact. You know what I mean? 1 million jobs have been created by Republicans. The reason why they're saying this is because of all the jobs they've lost during their recessions.
Yeah.
It's just been, and so this is even with Barack losing millions of jobs in the first year of his presidency. Came back and still made it happen,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like the policies you see who has policies for the people, you see who does not. If he did, he would have spoken. There was just nothing. I'm going to drill like I never. Well, you could have done that the first time. We're drilling more now. You could have closed the border and did whatever you want to do the first time. Same thing you're telling Joe Biden should have done executive orders to do all this kind of stuff. But what you did do is you went along and said, you know what? I'm gonna make a Muslim ban. I don't want people from shithole countries here in my.
I forgot about the Muslim ban.
Come on, man. I mean, we have to look at the perpetuation of what he does. You first come into office, and this is what you do. You're telling me who you all say. I want people from Norway, Sweden, this country, that country. I don't want people from these shithole countries like Haiti. You named off nothing but people of color. You don't want people of color, and this is what you're saying. I'm not saying at all. Period. I'm saying that you've shown who you are when it comes to us, over and over and over again. Now you're saying I don't care what color she is. Why'd you say it then? Why did it become because no one talks about what color you are? Guaranteed.
Why are you gonna sit there and lie about it? Like I didn't say that. She was like, it was your own words.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I don't. I'm like, bro,
he does that type of stuff though. You know what I mean?
But that's crazy. Like you just lie on the world stage like that. Like
I had a conversation with somebody on my Facebook page, and I kind of told him they were like, oh, this is Kamala Harris' family. It was her grandparents and her siblings or whatever, right? And her sibling, maybe one of her cousins, and the grandparents are of the mother, or the parents of the mother are Indian, of course. And she's sitting there. She has like an Indian, I'm not sure what type of cloak they wear there, whatever type of, and she maybe has one of those, I forget what they're called, but the red dots that they have on they put on their forehead. I'm not sure what the proper name for it is. He's like, but her hairdo was a woman's hairdo, a black woman's hairdo from, they're
from Oakland,
the 90s. Yeah, I'm gonna plug this up. You guys go ahead. I'll have to plug this up for a minute.
Plug on the camera?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, here, we can end it. Yeah, we'll be back live again. Thank y'all for participating and watching our live. We appreciate you all. I can't even see from here.
Right there.